Teaching around the world.
Hi there, my name's Simon and I'm a high school teacher here in Switzerland. My subjects are English and Spanish, but at the moment I'm also teaching French.
Jem's 12 quick questions. Teaching around the world. Question number 1. Number of students in your class.
My classes usually consist of about 8 to 21 students.
What do your students call you?
They usually call me Mr. G because my last name is a bit hard to pronounce in English, so that's why they opted for a shorter version and just simply call me Mr. G.
How many hours do you teach a day?
I teach about 7 to 8 lessons a day, 5 in the mornings, 2 to 3 in the afternoons, which roughly equals about 7 hours of teaching a day.
What's the best thing about being a teacher in your country?
Now, the best thing about being a teacher in Switzerland, in my opinion, is on the one hand that it is still a very well respected and also very well paid job, considering the amount of work we teachers have to deal with, and also the sometimes challenging situations that we find ourselves in. And on the other hand, that as a teacher you're quite free to choose what you teach and how you teach, as long as you stick to the syllabus. So, for example, in my subject English, I have the freedom of teaching the kids about, for example, foreign countries, about literature. I can teach them about music, about movies, about anything that I find worthwhile and that have to do with the English language, with the English culture, English-speaking world. And that's one thing I appreciate a lot.
When does your school day start and finish?
My school day usually starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm an early bird and I like to get to school early so that I have my 1.5 hours of quiet. There's usually no teachers around. I can use the copy machine without having to stand in line. I can have my morning coffee in peace and quiet, and then at 7:25 the first lesson starts. My days usually finish at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
How many staff meetings per week?
Staff meetings are usually held every Thursday afternoon. Thursdays are reserved for staff meetings, so that means we usually have one meeting a week. Depending on what's going on at school, we might have a second one on a Tuesday, but usually it's Thursday afternoons for staff meetings.
When is your big holiday and how long is it for?
My big holiday is in summer. It's a 6-week holiday, summer break, and usually starts at the beginning of July and ends mid-August.
What technology do you use in your classroom?
Now, technology-wise, I have a whiteboard in my classroom which I can work with and which I work with quite frequently. I can connect my personal laptop to the whiteboard, and kids love the whiteboard. They like to come to the front and play teachers themselves and work on exercises directly on the whiteboard and fill in the solutions. So that's a quite good thing to have in my classroom. Then I sometimes also use iPads. There are 3 iPads which are located in my classroom. So whenever we have something that I want the kids to have a look at on the iPad, they have to get together in groups and work with the iPads that I have in my classroom.
What is your most valuable teaching strategy?
My most valuable teaching strategy, that's a good question. What I try to do is I try to let students see my passion for my subjects, the passion for languages, and I usually hope that some of that passion spreads to the students, and that they realize that languages are not only grammar and writing and reading, but that there's a lot more to be discovered through a language.
How do you get to school?
I take the train to school. It's about a 10-minute train ride, and then I have another 15 minutes walk before I get to school, and I quite like that walk because it gives me the opportunity to air my head, to just let my thoughts flow, and another sort of a pause before I get to school in the morning, and then also in the afternoon I walk the same way back. Another possibility for me to air my head and before all the other things that I have to do on that particular day.
What is the biggest issue affecting education in your country?
I would say that Switzerland is a tiny country, and we have 26 even smaller cantons, like states, and one problem that I think needs to be resolved is that the teacher training still tends to be very different depending on which canton you get your training from. So in my opinion, teacher training in Switzerland should be standardized. There should be one basic teacher training, which would also help to find a job, because sometimes, depending on what kind of teacher training you have, it is a bit difficult to find a job.
What's the one thing you want your future students to know about you?
My classes are fun. I'm quite a nice guy, and also that language courses are much more than just reading, writing, grammar. That there's a whole world behind every language that loves to be discovered, and that languages also help you to discover the world, to build bridges between cultures, between people, that languages make you a more open person, and help you to connect with people that you probably wouldn't connect with just like that. So thanks very much, and see you.